Danielle, hello, hello.
How you doing? Hello, good night. How you doing? How you going?
Oh my God, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I am so excited.
Girl, let me tell you something. As soon as I saw the email, I had to quiet myself because I almost replied like, you get an email, you like reply too quickly. And it's like, yo, chill, calm down. So I had to kind of, give myself a little 30-second breath.
It came
And
in
I was
like
like, I'm in.
hot fire. And Kayla, who helps the life of a makeup artist, was like, Danielle is so down. And I was like, perfect. So
Yay.
everyone, please welcome Danielle Gray to the podcast, otherwise known as the Style and Beauty Doctor. So, Danielle, before we get into the nitty-gritty of things, I wanted to talk a bit about your beginnings as a style and beauty expert. Oftentimes, we take advice from people that we've never seen or met, and you've been doing this blog for quite some time. And I really want everyone to know a bit of Danielle before we get into like the good stuff. Like, this is good stuff too, but I want everyone to kind of know more about you.
Okay, so I always have to say like the origin story, like when you're watching X-Men or something like that, there's always like the origin story. So mine starts with my Trinidadian mom, who is from Princesstown. And
oh my God, I didn't even know that. I'm from St. Madeleine.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So growing up, watching her, she used to sell Mary Kay. So watching her do like her skincare routine and putting on her makeup. And this is in the 80s. So, the 80s were like full on glam. Give me the red lips, give me the blue eyeshadow, give it to me, give it all to me. So, that's the kind of, household I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
Also very, very much focused on academics. I went to an accelerated program for gifted children. And, I was just like the nerd of all nerds. and then what happened, you go to college and I went to college and I got my degree in marketing. And the day that we were graduating, I overheard two, other students talking about their plans for after college. And one said that she was going to go to the Fashion Institute of Technology here in New York and take some classes. And then I'm like, ear hustling on that conversation. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that too. So I went and got my certificate in image consulting from FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology. And image consulting is, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a study of making people look even more amazing. So you learn color theory, you learn what colors look good on, different skin tones and people with different coloring. You learn what silhouettes in fashion look best on different body types. You learn about, what hair color people should have. So there's like all of these really great things that you learn. And I actually started the blog because at the time, and this is 2006 when I got the certificate. So I started the blog in 2007, which was kind of like the early days, the blogs that I was reading back then were, the Young, Black and Fabulous. And of course, our girl, Leanne Farbs, the makeup girl. I was definitely in her blog. And Tia Williams, Shake Your Beauty. So these were, three although Young, Black and Fabulous wasn't a beauty blog, but, it still kind of really was something that I was really interested in reading. So I said, you know what, let me start my blog. Oh, and of course, Afrobella. Like,
oh my God, I was literally thinking that as well. And Erin on YouTube too.
Yes. And the thing with Erin and I go way back to the MAC Live Journal community, which I think was like 2004, 2005. Oh my God. Like I've known Erin I didn't meet Erin until like maybe 9 years into us knowing each other online.
Wow.
I actually met her in person. But, having all of those influences and seeing how blogs were kind of shaping the culture back then, I said, let me start a blog to get more image consulting clients. And that worked. But then I also realized, that I have to actually leave the house to do some of this stuff. And I can only meet with one person at a time. And in addition to doing the image consulting, like going into people's homes and helping them with their closet, helping them put outfits together, I was also doing makeup. So, makeup for weddings. And, I don't need to tell you or your audience how involved, being a makeup artist is, carrying a kit, getting clientele, yada, yada.
And I don't think a lot of people know that you have such extensive experience working with like MAC and Estee Lauder. And I'm guessing that played a lot in, how you teach your audience today as well.
Definitely. Like I always tell people, and even my background in financial services, I was a salesperson selling investments and insurance. Even that has helped to shape my career and what I do now because, that past life taught me how to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like imagine having to go up to a complete stranger and asking them about their 401k rollover, like that kind of stuff.
Am I?
And then, right. And then dealing with different types of people, whether it be at the bank or, at the MAC counter or at Estee Lauder, it teaches you a lot. And people always, not always, but, people often are in jobs that, don't fulfill them or they don't love. But I always try to say to people to find the inspiration and find what the stepping stools you can use in that current job to take you to the next. Mm-hmm. So like, for instance, at Estee Lauder, which I didn't stay at Estee Lauder very long. I would have stayed longer, but you know how sometimes things go when you butt heads with somebody and
right.
But Estee Lauder gave me a really great foundation for skincare in a way that still amazes me to this day, because I worked that counter in 2010, which was 10 years ago. And I'm still like amazed by how much information and how much knowledge they equip their people with when it comes to skincare. That to me, it's like, having that information is very dynamic. And of course, obviously helping their bottom line and getting them more sales. But it also empowered me because then I'm like, oh, wow, I have all this information from working at Estee Lauder, working at MAC, having the image consulting background because, I know all the colors that work on certain people and, this and that. And, the sales background helped me to, be more brave about putting myself out there. Right. So like all of these things kind of, mesh together to help me to start that blog in 2007 and grow it to where it is today. And there's like sometimes when I think about the crazy things and crazy places the blog has taken me over the past 13 years, it's just like, wow. And the connections with people that I've made in the last 13 years, it's just amazing.
I know, that is incredible. I mean, and then you kind of think, where do those years go? They fly by so quickly.
So fast.
But, I love that because for me, I look at you as an expert and you know what you're talking about. And hence, why you're here today. And you, like you said, 13 years of experience. And I'm sure for many, trying to get into skincare or makeup, it can be very complicated. How would you say you would direct someone that's just trying to figure out their skincare routine or their makeup routine for the first time? Like they just don't know where to start.
There's the first thing I would have to say is to go slow. Like try to become a master of a few things first. You don't have to knock it out the park, with a full-on beat, right. The first go around. I know, watching videos, watching Jaleesa's, tutorials and stuff like that makes you want to think that you're going to be a makeup artist tomorrow. But, even you started from somewhere and it took you time to build your craft. And I remember watching your videos like years ago and being like, well, look at my Trini sis. And it takes time. So I would say to try to figure out the basics first, like try to master one thing. Mm-hmm. When it comes to skincare, of course, follow me because I try to break it down and make it as fun and easy as possible. But when it comes to skincare, I always say don't do the most because I feel like people see like all of these different skincare products and they think that they need everything.
Right. When not 20 products at a time.
Right. When the basics are to just cleanse, treat your skin, moisturize day and night. And then during the day, you're going to protect your skin with sunscreen. And that's it. That's it when it comes to skincare. All the extra stuff that comes along, some people may need it, some people may not need it. But, just start out with the basics, figure out what your skincare, what your skin type is, because, a lot of people are just using products all over the place and not really have a good understanding of what their skin type is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I always tell people, don't go it alone when it comes to skincare. Like, the internet and social media will make you think that everything is a DIY when you ain't got to go it alone when it comes to your skin. If you're having trouble, find an esthetician. An esthetician is someone who's going to help you with the maintenance of your skin. And then a dermatologist is someone also that is great to have under your belt, because a dermatologist takes things even further. So, if you have chronic issues with your skin, like rosacea or acne, cystic acne, hyperpigmentation, severe discoloration, like, these are things that you go to a dermatologist for, and they'll put you on the right, regimen for treatment for in-office procedures. But like I always tell, my brothers and sisters of color, you can't just go to any old esthetician or dermatologist. You want to make sure that, they're board certified and that they have receipts that they work on Black skin, because there are dermatologists and there are estheticians out there who, don't know diddly squat about working on deeper complexions. And, if your dermatologist or your esthetician is on some "we are the world, I don't see color" mess, you need to run, because that is not the person for you. We, our skin is different. There's certain peels. If you're going to use a peel, there's certain percentages that you shouldn't, that you need to stay within. With lasers, there's certain lasers that are specific to deeper skin tones. I mean, something even as simple as dealing with acne, you need to go to someone who understands the way that skin of color reacts in certain situations, because they can make it worse. And then you got two problems.
Right.
Whatever you started out with, and then the new issue, which could be like keloids or more hyperpigmentation or, what have you.
That's a good point. I love that.
So you've been, we spoke about you've been blogging for years. And like you said, you've learned so much about skincare.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that skincare can become very complicated. So like we spoke about, you've been blogging for years and you share quite a bit about makeup, beauty, fashion. And today our focus is skincare, because I love the way that you've been approaching your skincare, and I take a lot of tips and advice from you, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show today. So when you're, yes, girl, your skin is popping. So when you're approaching your own skincare routine, how do you go about it? Because I feel like with so many products on the market today, it can become very complicated for the average person trying to figure their life out.
Yeah, there's a lot of products out there, and then there's a lot of conflicting information. And it's funny, there's like a big, skincare started to really boom as an industry, because, usually they would put makeup and skincare kind of together, but it kind of, within the last couple of years, it's boomed as like its own separate entity. And one thing that I find common, and, people may, DM me or leave me a comment somewhere if you find this to be the case for you, if you're listening to this. Do you find that a lot of these people that are in the skincare community, some of them come off very judgy, some of them come off as a little pompous, a little, a little too, I know everything. And that kind of makes it a little
HAs and the HA. I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, I know that I know it's a lot, and I know you need to know the difference, but I'm just like, okay, you know what I mean? It's important to, not teach yourself these things so you're not messing up your skin. Because I think people think if I just mix all these things and it looks cool and I'm using the latest products, it's good. But also chill.
Because some people come off like they know more than the actual brands that have whole research and development teams that are developing products. And to me, it just seems it's oh my God, what do I believe? Do I believe the brand? Do I believe this person? Do I believe that person? It's a lot out there. And then on the other side, you have people who should never
turn the camera on or fix their fingers to type any kind of skincare routine because it's like, what are you doing? Now I sound like the people that I was talking about. But for me,
right? You're like,
for me, skincare is not something that one day you're going to pick up and be like, all right, I'm about it. It's a recurring process. You're always learning. I think, going back to when, like, even before I was working at Estee Lauder and I got that really good training from them on skincare, before then, I had a skincare routine from when I was like 11, 12. Like, as soon as I hit puberty, I had a skincare routine because, again, my mom was a glamour queen and she was selling Mary Kay. So, I had a very early exposure to, cosmetics and skincare and so on. But I'm also like a little bit of I want to learn more about that. So I would read a lot of things. Throughout my blogging career, one thing that I have to say is because I started a lot earlier. I started in 2007 when they finally did start inviting bloggers to events. They would kind of mix us in with the long lead people, like, the magazine editors and, those kind of people. And a lot of times I would go to a lot of dermatologist events. I would learn a lot from them. I would email them or, I would go take them to the side at an event and be like, all right, I need to know X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, let me know. I learned a lot from Dr. Murad. Years ago, he used to have a lot of events. He's such a sweet man. And he would have a lot of events and he would just like talk about skincare so much. He's written a lot of books on it. Like anything that I could read about skincare, like I would read it. I would talk to dermatologists. I would talk to so many estheticians. I would talk to so many people within the industry and also just, doing my own kind of research, reading what certain products do, what certain ingredients do. Now, this took me years of, just getting that background information on skincare. And, like I said, like I was saying, just a few minutes ago, skincare is not something you pick up one day and you're like, all right, I know skincare. It's something that it takes a long time to learn. There's a lot of trial and error. I like to keep things pretty simple. I've tried like the Korean multi-step routine where you have the essence and you have the facial oil and you have this and you have that. There's a lot of things that I tried because, things become trendy and my audience wants to know and I myself am curious. But I like to keep things pretty simple for my routine right now. Right now, I would say that I'm like in a maintenance phase, a maintenance and prevention stage. So I'm trying to maintain what I got now. And also prevent, certain things from occurring in my skin because, anti-aging, things like that. Not that I'm scared to age, but, if I can do what I can to, keep the skin looking as taut for as long as possible, then, by all means. But I like to keep things pretty simple. I don't want like a whole long drawn out skincare routine when I don't have to have one. But also, I think the most important thing that people need to realize is that you watch people's skincare routines, you look things up, and then you figure out what's going to work for me because you can't just go and copy someone else's skincare routine verbatim and think that it's going to work for you because we have different skin types, we have different skincare issues, and so on and so forth.
So I remember my sister telling me about your blog. I remember I mentioned your name. And she was like, Style and Beauty Doc, like I read her blog. And I was just like, yeah, that's my friend, girl. And she was telling me that, she took a lot of advice from you when you were going through your adult, I think it was adult acne and your hyperpigmentation. And you really shared that journey with your audience. And she too was, dealing with some of the same issues. Can you tell us what you were going through at that time and how you dealt with that whole issue, like the acne and how you dealt with hyperpigmentation? Because I think that especially for those like people of color, hyperpigmentation is a very sore spot for a lot of us.
Hyperpigmentation or dark spots, as they're sometimes commonly referred to for anyone who's like, what's that? It's basically an overproduction of melanin, and that can occur. Oh, I don't know why I have this voice on, and that can occur. But that can occur.
Do you have a white lab coat on?
Right.
I love it. We're here for it. We love to see it. It's okay.
Right. But that can occur when the skin is responding to some sort of trauma. Now, trauma sounds like such a dramatic word, but trauma can be something as simple as, you have your long nails and you scratch your skin and the skin is like, oh my God, what just happened here? And it overproduces melanin because it's like going into attack mode or shock mode. And it's like, oh my God, what's happening? So something as simple as a scratch, a scar, acne, because, acne kind of interrupts the skin. And it interrupts your life and your schedule, things like that too. But
and then when you're popping it and with dirty hands and all of that.
Right. So acne can disrupt skin and be traumatizing to the skin, so to speak, in a similar way. And what happens is, like I said, the skin feels like attack mode. It's like, what's happening? It gets freaking out and it overproduces melanin as a result. And that overproduction of melanin is the dark spot. Now, the thing with dark spots is some of them are very superficial, meaning that, they can be taken care of with things that you can find over the counter. Some of them are deeper, which means that, they may respond. You may see some results with over-the-counter treatments, but if you're really looking to see results with those kind of like those deeper or like the older kind of dark spots, you may want to see an esthetician and or a dermatologist to kind of combat that. Now, with me, my hyperpigmentation came from reoccurring adult acne. Now, adult acne can be a pain in the neck. A lot of people get adult acne that never even had acne as a teenager, which makes it a little bit more frustrating because it's like, oh my God, I've never had to deal with acne before. What's going on here? And the thing is, it's like, you got to remember that you can't deal with adult acne the same way you would with acne that you would get as a teen, because they're caused by two different things. So acne, when you're going through puberty, is caused by an overproduction of sebum. Sebum is like the oil gland that's in the skin. And as an adult, typically adult acne is caused by the hormones. So as we get older, now I am 38. I had to think about it for a second because I was going to tell you I'm 36 because sometimes I just forget.
You look like 32, but okay, all right.
I'm like, where on the scale? I don't know.
Well, I can't wait to put up your picture because they will be like, you lying.
Right. Side note, super funny. Somebody on my YouTube channel the other day left a comment and said, oh, you never ask a lady her age, but how old are you? But you said you should never ask them. Like, anyway, I digress.
That's so funny. She get a slide in
right.
DMs.
So once you hit, and it's not even like to say a certain age, but a lot of women experience these changes when they're in their 30s, when they hit, 30, 31, and it's because the hormones are changing. So you're not producing as much of the female hormone, estrogen. And you might see like we always produce, what's the male hormone called again? Testosterone. But you might see like a little uptick of the testosterone. Everyone's different, but on average.
Chin hair? What is chin hair?
Yes. And the testosterone is the thing that causes like the facial hair. Trust me, I got a whole series on my YouTube on my facial hair removal procedures and whatnot that I'm still going through. But also it can cause, acne. And what's annoying about adult acne, again, like I said, you can't treat it the same way you did when you were a teenager. So when you're a teenager, usually they give you something like 10% benzoyl peroxide or maybe like 10% salicylic acid because, you're fighting the excess oil. As an adult, though, your skin, as we age, the skin doesn't produce as much oil. Some people may still have oily skin, but the oil production may not be as much as it was when they were younger. So you don't want to use something super harsh to treat the adult acne because then you wind up with two issues. You got the acne and you dried out your skin and you could be causing, other issues.
Yeah, it's stripped.
So when you're dealing with adult acne, you want to look for like, what I did, first of all, my acne was annoying and it was popping up. Like I would get a pimple like on my chin or on my forehead and it would go away. I would get the dark spot. The dark spot would start to fade, and then I would get a pimple in the same spot again. And that happened like that kept happening in cycles. So for me, it was annoying, but it wasn't severe enough where I felt like I needed to go to an esthetician or a dermatologist to get something stronger. Because some people may need to go and get go to a dermatologist so that they could maybe prescribe some sort of, either if it be some sort of like hormonal pill or something, or even something topical, or an injection, or whatever it be, that, the dermatologists, they do their thing. That's not my world, that's their world.
Yes.
But for me, I decided that I needed a low dosage salicylic acid, because salicylic acid, and again, these are things that I learned from reading over the years, talking to other dermatologists, if I'm one, talking to dermatologists, and, just knowing a lot about, what certain brands put in their skincare products. I knew that I wanted something a low dosage salicylic acid, because salicylic acid in a smaller dosage would help to fight the acne, but it also wouldn't dry out my skin. So I used, and this is what I use. There are lots of brands out there that also make, that you can find similar products, but I use the Murad anti-aging acne line, because to me, when I was dealing with my acne, I was like, that speaks to me, because like, yeah, I want to be anti-aging.
No, I'm glad you're sharing, because that actually was my next question. Like, what recommendations would... No, it's perfect. What recommendations would you suggest? And I want to know in maybe on the higher end, and then maybe something that you might find that works more on the, high, low.
I do not believe in super high end skincare products. Like, I'm just like, look, man, if you can find something at the drugstore that works well, then stick with that. And I found, for me personally, now this is me and my skin, a lot of the higher end, like the luxury skincare brands, they tend to put a lot of fragrance in their products, and my skin doesn't really like a ton of fragrance in products, so I don't really, I'm like, eh.
Now, I was going to say we would consider Dr. Murad more in the middle.
Middle, yeah. I would say Dr. Murad is more in the middle. Me personally...
Middle and low.
Yeah.
I don't even say low sounds bad, but you know what I mean.
Me personally, I wouldn't do, I wouldn't do luxury skincare. I would rather go to a dermatologist and let them prescribe something for me, because sometimes the what do you call the people that put the caps on how much stuff? The FDA? Yeah, it's FDA?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the FDA.
Yes, the FDA.
They put limits on...
I thought you was about to say the FBI. I'm like, what?
Them too, the FBI, the CIA. The NYPD.
Oh gosh.
There's certain limits on how much percentage of certain active ingredients that can be sold over the counter. So a lot of times it's like, okay, you're buying some very cheap foo product, but it has the same percentage high of the active ingredient as something that's like mid-tiered, or like
you're paying for the packaging. Yeah, you're paying for the packaging.
You're paying for the packaging, and then you might also be paying for like fragrance sometimes. You gotta watch out for that. But yeah, I'd rather go to the dermatologist and have them prescribe something like if I need something more aggressive, I'd rather go to the dermatologist. I'd rather go that route and get a prescription medication. And sometimes the prescription medication might be less than the luxury skincare product. But then you got to factor in the doctor's visit and yada, yada. But yeah, I would definitely...
Is there anything you would recommend from drugstores?
Drugstore is tricky, because I was looking at drugstore stuff. I don't think there's any line that I know of, because I haven't dealt with, the acne came back a little bit, but not as strong as it did before. But at the time when I was really, really going through the adult acne, I was looking in the drugstore if there was a line specifically that was like anti-aging acne, like that was like speaking to adult acne. I didn't really find anything. I think maybe the closest thing would maybe be Proactive, and I don't know if people would consider Proactive to be drugstore, but Proactive had worked wonders for me as well, in previous bouts of adult acne. But with the drugstore, and also looking like health food stores, because health food stores will sell brands that don't advertise much, but they have good ingredient. They have good products like Revival Labs, Jason, Derma E.
Oh yeah.
And what you want to do with the drugstore? Yeah, with the drugstore, sometimes you have to do a little bit more work, So you want to turn the packaging around, like go to where they have like the acne medication, turn the packaging around and just look at the active ingredient. Me personally, I like to say like, if it's something that I'm going to be using on my skin daily to prevent acne, I usually want to be less than 1% salicylic acid. Now, this is for me, myself personally. For other people, you know, other skin types might be able to take a little bit more. Even 1%, I feel kind of like, I would rather like 0.5% salicylic acid. So you just kind of turn the products around and look at how much of the active ingredient is in there. If it's for like just a spot treatment, then sometimes like where you're just putting the treatment right on the acne, the breakout, the pimple itself, that sometimes I would go a little higher. So sometimes I might do like a 2% salicylic acid or maybe even a 2% benzoyl peroxide. Some people stay away from benzoyl peroxide for adult acne, but there's some formulations that can work for, you know, a drier adult skin. But basically, when you're at the drugstore, just kind of look at the back and see what percentage of the active ingredient. And I always err on the side of being conservative. So I would always start out with the lowest amount first and then work my way up, as opposed to, you know, getting something like 5% or something like that and burning your skin.
What about products that have helped you to deal with hyperpigmentation? And we're talking, again, medium and low.
Okay. So the thing with hyperpigmentation is it's like you have to take it from a holistic approach, because a lot of times people will be like, okay, what can I use to get rid of these dark spots? And I can tell you, you know, you may want to look for something that has an active ingredient like hydroquinone. Now, hydroquinone is a controversial ingredient. I like to use it because it works pretty quickly. But, you know, some people, you know, they'd rather use something that's a little bit more on the natural side. So like things like kojic acid or licorice root, you know, these are things that help to fade the spots. But yeah, you fade the spot. But if you're not taking a holistic approach, you can be like having yourself, you know, like the gerbil on the wheel. You might have a situation like that. So what you want to do is make sure you're properly cleansing your skin, because if your skin's not properly cleansed, it's not going to be able to, the products aren't be able to penetrate and work as they're intended. Properly cleansing your skin. Like if you're wearing makeup, you may want to do a deep cleanse once or twice a week. Twice daily, you want to use a gentle cleanser. The gentle cleanser is basically when you're finished washing your face shouldn't feel dry and tight. It should feel soft and supple. And then you want to do regular exfoliation. And, you know, that can be maybe once a week. It can be once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. It depends on, you know, the individual skin. And then the most important thing, well, I don't know if this is the most important thing, but there's like two things that are very important when it comes to dealing with dark spots that you have to take into consideration. You got to wear sunscreen.
Oh,
and now people get on me all the time about sunscreen. And I'm like, look, you play with the sun if you want to.
No, we're definitely going to touch on sunscreen, but I want to ask you really quick, as you mentioned, exfoliation. What's your favorite exfoliator right now? I've been loving the micro exfoliant from Dermalogica. It's a powder and it's really good. Yes, have you tried it? It's so good.
Yeah, I've had that come in here every now and again, and sometimes I get products when I'm using something else similar and I never get a chance to, like, you know, try it. But I hear a lot of good things about the Dermalogica exfoliator. I do some methods of manual exfoliation, which, you know, sometimes people may use like the microbeads, and microbeads you got to be careful with because some of them can tear the skin. But
and ruin the earth, right?
and then there's bad for the planet as well too. Some of them. Then my favorite manual exfoliator is actually the Clarisonics. I've been using that for years. I like to use that maybe like, it depends. If I'm wearing a lot of makeup, maybe I'll use it once or twice a week. If not, then maybe like once a week or once every 2 weeks, just to kind of give myself a good deep cleanse. And I'll use that with either, not either, but I would use that with like a deep cleanser. Like I like to use the Myra Badescu glycolic foaming cleanser when I use my Clarisonic. But then sometimes I also use the chemical exfoliants. I've used, I gotta actually go in the bathroom and look and see what it is. I'm like, what have I been using? And then there are products that you may think of it as an exfoliant, like retinol but it does help with like skin turnover. So Olay has their like retinol 24 line that I was using. Glycolic acid is also another like chemical exfoliant. I haven't tried it yet, but it's very intriguing to me. On the drugstore level, Olay has a new vitamin C and AHA resurfacing peel. So it's like a two-step. AHA is alpha hydroxy acid. So it's a two-step. There's a resurfacing mask, and then there's the AHA peel activator. So this is something that you can do when you're, especially now in the wintertime, sometimes the skin starts to get a little dull and you want to, kind of, give it a little boost so that it looks, more radiant and less dull. So that's a good thing to look at. Back in the day, I used to use the Perricone MD Blue Plasma. That used to be my jam.
Is that brand still around?
Perricone actually is still around. It's funny because Perricone used to be like my go-to brand.
I used to see it everywhere. I don't see it at all.
Yeah,
now.
I don't know what's going on with, well, actually, I think I do know what's going on with them. I think what happened in the skincare industry is that a lot of these, like, I think Dr. Murad still has a really great presence, but a lot of these, like, really pricey, like, dermatologist-based skincare brands, which used to be at the forefront, like, these are the things that people would always go for. I think now that they've taken a back seat because of brands like The Ordinary, where you can get like, really good. I mean, with The Ordinary, sometimes it's kind of like trial and error, figuring out what's for your skin. But, with some, you put in the footwork, you do your research, read their website, you can, figure some stuff out and not have to pay a lot. So I feel like the consumer is like, I'm not paying $60 for something when I can get it for $10, Yeah, The Ordinary has a glycolic acid toner that's a good chemical exfoliant as well, too, now that I think about it.
That's a good recommendation. So let's go back to what you were talking about, sunscreen. So this has been a huge topic, especially even for me, because I'm like, people say black does not crack. And I'm like, actually, it does. And it doesn't matter what your skin color is. I always tell people, if even guys, even when I do grooming or whoever I'm with at the time, I'm like, what do you do for your skin? And I'm like, if you don't do anything, at least put some sunscreen on. You know what I mean? Put some sunscreen on. So tell us, because I think I remember there was an event. I forgot the name of the event with you and That Beauty, Face Force. And I remember I started trying out that Olay Whips, and I actually really liked it. I really, really liked it. Yes. But let's talk about sunscreen. Let's tell the people how sunscreen will save lives.
Okay. So first of all, the funny thing is when I say I have a video on YouTube where every 6 months or so I have to delete and block somebody from the comments because somebody's like either cursing me out or threatening physical harm to me because I have a video saying that, how to use sunscreen and yes, Black people need it. And it's just like the craziest, most ridiculous thing.
We're exposed to so much more where our faces are in front of screens. I just got a blue light screen for my phone. The ozone layer is a mess. Like our grandparents was not like doing what we were doing. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's the thing that that's an argument that I always get, like, our ancestors didn't use sunscreen, we're fine. And it's like, okay, our ancestors also didn't have the same like hole in the ozone layer that we have now. And also our ancestors had a life expectancy of 32?
Wow.
Like before they even had a chance to like develop any like skin cancers, they were already, God bless them. R.I.P. But like I tell people, I'm like, look, you play with the sun if you want to. So the thing is, the sun emits two. I don't know if it's just the two rays or if there's additional rays, but the main ones that you learn about are the UVA and the UVB rays. And when you're looking for a sunscreen, you want to make sure that the sunscreen is blocking both of those. So it's going to be called broad spectrum. So it blocks the UVA and UVB rays. Now, the sun does emit rays that can be helpful, but then they also have some harmful rays as well. it's a harmful rays that can do the most damage. Now, the thing with sun damage, it doesn't always look like, like you're burnt leather skin, and it may not be something that you're going to see right away, especially if you're a person of color, and especially if you're a person of color with deeper skin. Sun damage is not detectable always. It's not always detectable by the naked eye. A lot of times, when you go to your doctor or dermatologist, they have to use a special machine to detect, what level of sun damage that you have. And the thing with the sunscreen usage, especially when we talk about dark spots, and especially when we're talking about using chemical exfoliants and other types of skincare, is that, well, for one, there are a lot of ingredients, a lot of skincare products and skincare active ingredients that make the skin more susceptible to the sun. Like, for instance, retinol. Retinol is something that a lot of dermatologists, a lot of skincare experts would recommend for people to use. It's something that it can help with acne. It can help with evening the skin tone. It can help with, preventing fine lines and wrinkles. But it also makes the skin very sensitive to the sun. A lot of the products that we use to fade dark spots also make the skin very sensitive to the sun. So it's like
vitamin C too as well. Yeah.
What you said, vitamin C?
Yeah.
A lot of people you definitely want to wear sunscreen when using vitamin C, but vitamin C also helps to fight free radicals. So a lot of people wear vitamin C during the day to kind of help combat that. But then some people also wear it at night because then it's like, okay, I'm fighting what was done throughout the day. So we're using things that make the skin is already sensitive to the sun from get. I'm using some very New York City slang. But then you add things like, hydroquinone or the kojic acid or the various things that you use to help to fade the dark spots. And that makes the skin even more sensitive. So you want to be careful with that because not only can the dark spots get even darker, and then it's like, again, like the hamster in the wheel thingy, you're like, going around and around in circles and not getting any progress with your skincare because, you're not wearing your sunscreen. But also when people with deeper complexions, people of color, do get skin cancers, although we don't get them as often as, our white counterparts do. When we do get it, it progresses so quickly because no one's checking for us to have, skin cancers, because everyone's thinking like, oh, I'm black, I'm covered, I'm protected by the melanin. And, people don't realize like, these things spread and they spread very quickly and it progresses so fast. And if you talk to any dermatologist that has had patients and clients that have had skin cancers and, the kind of treatment that they have to go through. I have a blogger friend who tells me about her friend who has some skin cancer, and it's a very sensitive spot for her, especially when people tell her that they're not wearing sunscreen. So, just put the sunscreen on. And then if that doesn't get people, the sun's harmful rays are one of the biggest things to break down collagen, and collagen is the protein in the skin that keeps the skin looking taut and snatched. You're gonna look older before your time when you're not wearing sunscreen. Oh, so one thing that, like, when I can't get people to wear sunscreen from that, I'm like, okay, girl, let me break it down to you. The sun's harmful rays is one of the biggest breakdowns of collagen, and collagen is the protein in the skin that keeps it looking taut and snatched. When you're not wearing sunscreen, it's breaking down that collagen. You can look older than your time, So if you want to continue to look taut and snatched, you need to put that sunscreen on, boo.
Have you seen this show on Netflix called One Strange Rock? It's with Will Smith. Okay, so it's a National Geographic backed series. They have one season. And they talk about just like the earth and different things. And one of the episodes is about the sun. And I watched it and I was just like, honestly, if you watch this, you would put on sunscreen every day. It's so scary the way that because it's pretty much like a huge fireball. Like the sun is a fireball. And they were talking about how dangerous the sun is. And I don't know if people realize, like, at the end of the day, some people have melanin, some people don't. But at the end of the day, we all have skin. You know, it doesn't matter if we're male, female, or whatever. We have skin. So I completely agree with
Put
you.
that sunscreen on, y'all. Oof.
So what about though recommendations for sunscreen? Because I get a lot of people saying, well, I don't want a sunscreen that's going to make me look ashy or give me, flashback or all these different things like, oh, I don't like this sunscreen because it's going to do this to my skin. What are some of your favorite sunscreen brands or specific products that you've, come to love over the years?
Yeah, the funny thing is there are actually a lot of sunscreens out there that won't make you look ashy. And the funny thing is I've been saying sunscreens that won't make you ashy for so long that I didn't realize that maybe there are some people that don't understand what that means. And basically, there's physical sunscreens and then there are chemical sunscreens. I've been talking a lot, so I'll just kind of make this quick. But typically some of the physical sunscreens or the mineral sunscreens have an ingredient in it that doesn't really rub in nicely on darker skin tones. So it has like a white cast to it. But there are a lot of sunscreens out there that won't make you ashy. I have a long list of them because I've been doing it for years, adding new non-ashy sunscreens to the list. But some of my recent faves, Supergoop makes some amazing sunscreens. Drunk Elephant has a mineral sunscreen, a physical mineral sunscreen that doesn't make you ashy. I'm not really into mineral sunscreen so much, but that one is one that I definitely tested. Derma E has one too, a mineral sunscreen that doesn't look ashy, and Derma E is more on the drugstore level. Mm-hmm. Olay makes one that I really love. You can wear it on its own, or you can wear it on top of your favorite moisturizer. It doesn't have sunscreen. It's the Olay Sun Shine Control. It's an SPF 35. I like that. It blends right into the skin. And then for those with oily skin, it also helps to, control that shine. Because another thing that happens is the higher the SPF you go, sometimes the, for lack of a better term, the greasier it can look on oilier skin. So I like that this one is a 35, and I have a blog post on like the difference between the SPF factors. Because like, for instance, a 35, a 70 is not double the protection of a 35. Like the difference between a 35 and a 70 is maybe like 2%. If I were to quickly do the numbers. But yeah. So what's the brand? Glossier has one that people really like. I think it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a clear sunscreen from Glossier. I think it's the only sunscreen that they sell, and it's clear. People like that one, but Supergoop, on the like department store level, Supergoop is really awesome, and I like Olay on the drugstore level.
Okay, I love that. I actually just went to get a facial at Dermalogica, so I've been we have each other on Instagram. I've been doing this thing called Skincare Sundays, very sporadically throughout the year. And like you said, skincare really does take some time to learn, because I was just like, I'm going to learn and I'm going to help you, you guys learn with me. And, I love that you dropped so many gems. Like, I feel like I need to reevaluate my entire life. But
oh, no, you don't.
But I just got a new routine because when I went to Dermalogica, we did everything. We did the tests and, so I feel pretty okay. But I'm not going to lie, I do have like 1 or 2 days where I might run out the house without sunscreen, I confess. But I would throw it in my bag and like make sure. And I actually started applying it on my hands as well, because I'm like, ooh, like...
Yeah, because the hands start to show, the hands, the neck, and the chest definitely show signs of aging first. So that's important. And the thing also, some people do, and this is a conversation to have with your doctor about vitamin D. Some people do need to get that vitamin D, and some people like to get it from the sun. So they may like alternate, but that is definitely a conversation to have with your doctor to see if maybe that is your best. Like, a lot of people say, like, oh, I'm vitamin D deficient. And it's like, okay, who told you that? Did you actually go to a doctor and figure that out? But, these are conversations you want to have with your doctor, but, and then see if there's like a better way to get, that vitamin D that you need. But, and the most important thing also with any skincare is like patience. So like with dark spots, if you're using something like a hydroquinone, it can take anywhere from like 8 to 10 weeks for you to start to see results. And this is not even like a complete turnaround. It might be like some fading that you see, and you have to be consistent and you have to be patient. And then, things like your kojic acid and your, what's the other one? Licorice root can take like 12 to 14 weeks before you see results. So you really have to be patient and consistent. And, I wish people were kinder about skin because, and the internet can be a great place, but then the internet can also be a horrible place sometimes. I just wish people were kinder. And then there are people it's not even the internet that's the problem, it's their family members sometimes where it's like they get on them about their skin. And, I just wish people were a little bit more sensitive and, just let people be and, let people be nice.
Then because it's sometimes issues that you don't have.
Right. Exactly.
Really quick, what do you think about Mederma?
I actually love Mederma. I have a little sore spot about Mederma because let me tell you something. No, it's not the brand's fault. So I worked with the brand this year and last year. So last year when I worked with the brand, I worked with them with their overnight scar. I forget what it's called, but it's like an overnight scar something or another. And that worked really nicely too, because it helps to remove even older scars. Because my legs would get I'd bump into stuff and, I'd get a cut and then it would leave a scar. So just as those scars were starting to fade, I got a cat. His name is Cat Williams. Just as the scars were starting to fade, here he comes. And he's such a sweet darling, but he's also a pain in the you-know-what. My legs look like Freddy Krueger got me, and I woke up and came into the real realm. And my legs, so now I had to get back on the Mederma because the cat keeps scratching my legs. And it's just like, I look at my legs sometimes and I'm like, oh my God, why do I even bother sometimes? But Mederma is nice. I liked it for fading scars on my legs. I would just recommend to not get a cat. Please have it.
No cats. So tell us, Danielle, how can we find out and follow you for more advice? You've dropped some serious gems. We know that you are on YouTube,
Thank you,
on Instagram, all over the internets. So let us know.
I am everywhere. I'm on YouTube at Style and Beauty Doctor. I have my blog still, thestyleandbeautydoctor.com. My Instagram, Twitter is Style, the letter N, Beauty Doc. So, follow me, holla at G.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for being on with us today. We are looking forward to upgrading our skincare routine, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me, and I had a lot of fun here. Of course, with you, the amazing Jaleesa.
All right, we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.